Hello beautiful perception trainers people, and welcome back to another video where we're going to continue our discussion on why there's nothing wrong with you. And yeah, I know I didn't say in the last one that there was going to be a part 2, but I've been thinking about it and there definitely needs to be a part 2. So again, before I start, I'm just going to plug myself, I suppose. If you like this content and you're finding that this stuff is helpful, I have a lot of other resources for you. I have free programs, I have paid programs, I have a community in the mystery school, I have obviously the website and new videos every Monday. So yeah, there's lots of stuff. Check out all the links down below, Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff. Just wanted to let you know all about that. So now, in the last video, we talked about how there is nothing wrong with you and that the certain things that you have been through that you would consider your self-sabotaging behaviors and the things that you think are wrong with you, right? So you're overspending, you're getting in the wrong relationship every time, you're picking the wrong job every time, whatever you think is wrong with your body, whatever you think is wrong with your mind, whatever you think is wrong with your personality that's not allowing you to live the life that you think that you want to live, you think that you should live. I have been saying that there is nothing wrong with you. There is absolutely nothing wrong with you. There is no bad part of you. There is no self-sabotaging part of you. There is no thing that you have done wrong that has now irreparably ruined your life. What is truly happening is there are parts of you that you don't understand because you got blamed and shamed for having them. And there are parts of you that are, and there have been parts of your experience that you have not understood, all right? So when someone asks me, why do I keep getting in the wrong relationship over and over again? Why do I keep getting in the wrong job over and over again? Why do I keep going on the diet thinking this diet is different and then it actually ends up not being different? Why do I keep spending money over and over and over again? Even though I know that this isn't going to work out, or I should be able to see the signs that I'm headed in the direction that I've always headed in at the beginning, why do I keep doing these same things over and over again? And my answer to that is there is information for you in that experience that you have not integrated. All right? So something happened in your childhood probably that sparked this cycle of you continually going into these same traumatic events, these same traumatic circumstances over and over and over again, because your soul, yes, this part of you that wants to grow into your potential, needs the information in that circumstance about how you're thinking life is, what you're thinking about yourself, what you're thinking about how the world works, that is incorrect. Yes? Interacting with the unknown to get new information is why we put ourselves in any circumstance, in any situation, is why we face any situation, and why at the end of the day, no matter if you believe that you have chosen your life path and you put yourself in every situation you're in, or if you believe that things happen to you outside of your control, it doesn't matter, because the outcome of is this thing going to make you better, or is this thing going to make you traumatized and it going to hinder you for the rest of your life is completely up to you. It's completely up to your choice of what you're going to do with what happened to you. So when people ask me like, my childhood was so terrible and I got so abused in my childhood and I have such a hard time believing that I chose that experience for myself, that I chose to be in such an abusive or neglectful or just painful childhood situation. And to think that I put myself through that on purpose and now I have all this trauma and all these things that are wrong with me because of it feels awful. And I would say, okay, well, you don't have to think that. You don't have to think that you chose to put yourself in that situation. But what you can think is, okay, what did I learn? What can I learn from that situation so that I can take my power back now as an adult who's not being forced into situations like you were when you were a child, so that you can have a different life now. Because again, what we're all going to start to recognize with this is the thing that's wrong with us is usually the thing that's keeping us in the same mental, emotional, spiritual, physical habits and patterns that we were brought up with as children. All right? We're repeating now our own traumas. We're traumatizing ourselves. And remember what a trauma is a situation, a circumstance that we go through that we don't understand. It's painful, it hurts, it's out of alignment with how life really works, it's out of alignment with who you really are. That's why anything is ever painful, okay? Because it's out of alignment with truth. We put ourselves in these situations as adults, yes, because we need to learn what that situation is trying to teach us about the truth about ourselves and the truth about reality, so that those seeds of who we want to become can grow. Yes, it is the information that we get through interacting with a life that we don't understand that waters and nurtures and grows and informs the seeds of who we are to become. That is what we need to understand. Every situation that we've ever gone through can, if we choose to let it be, information about how the world works and how we work that can then inform the seeds of our potential so that they can grow. Because remember, nothing grows without new information. We can't get new information without interacting with the unknown or seeing what we're interacting with in new ways. So this is why we start to have compassion for ourselves when we put ourselves in painful situations over and over again. Why we have compassion for ourselves when we think that we've ruined our lives because we made all these mistakes. The first thing is always compassion, because that softens our resistance, right? We have compassion for ourselves, that that thing is painful, that whatever we're going through does hurt, and it hurts for a reason, because it's out of alignment with truth. It's not hurting because there's something wrong with you. It's hurting because it's something that's hindering your capacity to be vital, to grow and to flourish into the person you came here to become. And what we learn from these things is how to change and take our power back in our own lives to become the people we are meant to become. Okay, now the next most important part that you're ever going to understand, okay? If you really are going to take this work and you're going to get it, you're going to have to understand this. The hope and the feeling that you're going to fix what's wrong with you and then you're going to be happy is the complete lie that keeps us trapped in our shit forever, okay? What we have to understand is that whatever we're doing to sabotage ourselves, whatever we're doing to hurt ourselves, whatever we're doing where we're putting ourselves in these same traumatizing positions over and over and over again, there is an element of wanting to learn about the reality and wanting to learn about what is, yes. The other element is this. None of us were trained that normal doesn't work. Okay, so what we're holding on to, when we hold on to this idea that there's something wrong with us that we're going to fix through self-improvement, we're going to get rid of our self-sabotaging behavior, we're going to get rid of our binging, we're going to get rid of our anorexia, we're going to get rid of our drinking, we're going to get rid of our overspending, we're going to get rid of our pattern of getting in the wrong relationship over and over again, we're going to get rid of our overspending, I already said that, all the things, right? We think, if I could just fix this part of myself, which is the thing that's broken, I'm going to be able to exist in the rest of my life happy. I'm going to be able to live a normal, happy life. That is why we hold on to the self-sabotaging behavior or the whatever it is that we think is wrong with us. That when we fix it, even if it's something about your physical body, or your personality, right? When I get rid of this personality characteristic, when I fix this thing about my body, when I get the nose job, when I get the husband, when I get the wife, when I get the right relationship, when I get the right clothes, when I get the right makeup, whatever it is, where we're putting off, right? This is the thing that's wrong with me, and once that's fixed, I'm gonna feel better. We're holding on to that because we're hoping that that's the thing that's causing us pain, and when we fix that, we can live up to expectation. And this is where the whole thing crumbles when we start to understand what's truly going on. No. The reason you have all the things you fixate on, that this is what's wrong with me, and when it goes away, I'm gonna be okay, and the reason you have your self-sabotaging behaviors is because you can't live a normal life. You have developed your self-sabotaging behaviors as coping mechanisms for a life you don't want to live, for a normal you don't want to be, for a normal that you aren't. Okay, the things you fixate on, that you obsess about yourself, your weight, your money, your relationships, your face, your hair, whatever it is, that's your distraction, the thing you're using to focus on, that when this is fixed, I'll be happy, instead of looking at the real truth, which is I don't like my life and I don't want to live this way. Okay? So let me give you the example from my life. When I had my eating disorder, and I had my depression, and crazy ass anxiety, and over the top people pleasing, these were the things that I thought were wrong with me. I will be happy and be able to live this normal, happy, super great life. Okay, so as an adult, I had moved out of my parents' house and I was living in Vancouver, and I was trying to become a yoga teacher and living with my boyfriend and trying to have normal friends and trying to make normal life. And I was depressed. I was anxious all the time. I was obsessed with my body. I was obsessed with food. I was obsessed with all these things. And I just thought, once I can get rid of this depression, once I can get rid of this anorexia, once I can get rid of this obsession with my body, once I can get rid of my fat, once I can get rid of all these things that are wrong with me, I'm going to be happy in this life. Okay. The real truth was, I was never going to be happy in that life. I was never going to be happy working a 9-to-5 in a big city in the Western world, coming home on the weekends and cooking for my boyfriend. That was the life that I had been told my whole life was the right kind of life. That's a responsible life. You go to work, you pay your taxes, you cook for your boyfriend, you do all the cleaning, you don't ask for anything in return. That is a good person. That is who you're supposed to be. Don't be too emotional, don't be too spiritual, don't intimidate people, don't be special, don't be weird, just be normal. And so long as I was trying to just be normal, all of my self-sabotaging shit, all of my depression, my emotional guidance system telling me something was out of alignment, all of the stuff that made it so that I could not be happy existed. And all of that stuff would continually sabotage all of my attempts to be normal. My body would always shut down. I'd get a job, I'd be working that job, doing my 9-to-5, going to school, doing everything you're supposed to be doing, and eventually my body would just give out. And I would think like, what the heck, what's going on? Like, I'm doing everything right, I'm eating healthy, I'm exercising, I'm sleeping, blah, blah, blah. No, my body would still just be like, no, we're not doing this. My emotions would just give out. I would just get depressed. I would just get so anxious I couldn't show up. I would just get so overwhelmed, I'd have to quit. Over and over and over and over again. And I kept thinking, seriously, what's wrong with me? Why can't I just get it together to work a job? I would always sabotage myself in my jobs. Always. Always sabotage myself. Some way, somehow, I would fuck it up, right? My health would give out. If my mental state wasn't fucking it up, my body would. And it eventually got to this place where I said, okay, I'm not going to be able to make this work. I can't live this life. I am never going to be normal. And that is the big, deep-seated fear that keeps us trapped in cycles of self-sabotage where we don't actually see what's really going on. Because to admit that I was never going to be able to be the person that my caregivers and society at large expected me to be was a massive risk of everyone rejecting me and never having friends and all of my family thinking that I'm crazy and all my friends thinking that I'm crazy and the world thinking I'm crazy, right? There was a risk that me saying, okay, well, here's when I tune in to my actual compass, I want to go live in Asia. My family has been telling me my whole life that Asia is scary. People in my family are totally racist. And they're going to think that I'm nuts for doing this. The way that I eat, right? Constantly ostracized and criticized for being vegan, for being a raw foodie. Like just over and over and over again, told how crazy and stupid and I'm going to die that is. But more than that, it was like I had to embrace that I was a person that technically speaking my caregivers didn't approve of. Like who I am fundamentally, I was told over and over and over and over and over again by my friends, by my caregivers, by society at large, that this is not a good way to be. And so my two options were stay neurotic, stay in my self-sabotage, stay in my eating disorder, stay in all these things that I was using as a tool to suppress myself, to deal with a life that I hated, that I didn't want to live, that didn't align with me, that was exactly what everyone else expected me to do so that I could be good in other people's eyes. That was my option number one. Option number two was rebel against frickin' everything, risk losing everyone, and risk being a total freak, and the possibility that none of it was going to work out. Because that's the other thing. I did not know back in 2012, when I started to really say, okay, I'm going to start to follow what I actually want to do, that I was going to end up here. No idea. I had a vague sense that I wanted to work online and that I wanted to be in Asia. How that all came about over the last 6-7 years, I had no idea. And there has been so much processing and so much rejection and so much coming up against literally facing, okay, this is exactly who I have been told not to be for my entire life. And this is who I am. And I'm going to have to do this anyways and risk everything. Okay, so that's like the big key here is for me to get out of anorexia, anxiety, depression, crushing self-hate. It took basically risking everything. Everything. It took saying, okay, I might just be that horrible person that I've been told my entire life that I shouldn't be. I am emotional. I can't pretend that things are good when they're not. I can't live in the Western world. I can't work a normal 9 to 5. I can't do any of the normal, good, Christian, conservative, whatever life, right? I was never gonna have a house and 2 kids and a white picket fence and go see my parents on the weekend and have a barbecue. I just was never gonna be that person. And so long as I was trying to be that person, I was sabotaging myself. And I was sabotaging myself because I didn't want to do it. So this is the big thing. When I said to you in the last video, the first step is compassion and the second step is stepping into the unknown, what you're going to notice is when you step into the unknown, like I don't know why this part of myself is the way that it is. I don't know why I'm self-sabotaging. I don't know why I keep putting myself in this situation over and over again. I don't know why this thing is so painful. I don't know why my emotions are like this. I don't know why. I don't know what the message is. I don't know what's wrong. when we get into that and we step into that unknown, you're gonna, of course, have a moment of not really knowing what's going on. And then right after that, what's gonna start to come up is your desires to do things, to be things, to say things that you have been told your entire life you cannot do, be, or say. And that is going to be why you shut it down immediately. You distract yourself with food, you distract yourself with money, you distract yourself with how you look, you distract yourself with a relationship, you distract yourself with drinking or Netflix or putting yourself in the same drama over and over and over again. You're using it to distract yourself. You're using it to suppress yourself so that you don't have to face who and what you really are, that you know is a rebellion from what you've been told you're supposed to be. Okay, so even if you look back and you think, I fucked up my whole life, this is what I wanted to do, and I just like sabotaged myself the whole way, like I just made all of these mistakes and I ruined everything. You did that for a reason, because that wasn't the life you were supposed to live. That wasn't the person you wanted to be. That isn't who you really are. You were trying to build a life that isn't you. That isn't actually coming from your authentic place. And you sabotaged it. You sabotaged it because that's not who you want to be. Because the worst thing, here's the thing, right? If you're someone who feels like you've sabotaged your whole life, you're going to look back on that and be freaking grateful that you didn't actually do the other thing. Because you might be one of these people who was able to morph yourself and mold yourself into someone that society has approved of, that your parents have approved of, that the world approves of. And yet you have this neuroticism, this binge eating disorder, or this anorexia, or this shopping habit, or this terrible problem with spending money all the time, or this, right, emotions that go completely out of control, or crazy depression, whatever it is, this thing that's the thorn in your side that you just can't get rid of. It's because, again, you have morphed yourself into someone that you're not, and this thing is simultaneously the thing that's letting you know this is not who you are, this is not who I want to be, this is not what I want to do, and at the same time is the distraction, the suppression, the tool you're using to not be yourself, right? Every time there's that inkling to just like run away from your job, you can starve, you can binge, you can spend the money, you can get into a relationship you know is going nowhere. You can get yourself into this drama over and over and over again so you can deal with the drama. And then it allows you to cope with this life that you don't want to live, right? If you find that you can go, and then you crash, your emotions go out of control. Like I say, your body shuts down, your emotions shut you down. You can't stop crying. You can't stop getting mad at everyone. You get to this place where you feel like you need to take a break and like go have a time by yourself or something like this. No, you don't need a break. You don't need time by yourself. You don't need to collect yourself so you can get back to this life that's constantly doing this to you. Because it's never going to feel good. You're never going to cope with this to the point where it's happiness, right? So the people who were never able to conform actually have a leg up here in the sense that you got kind of nothing to lose. That was kind of how I felt. I was never able to conform. My body always shut me down. My emotions always shut me down. I would always say the exact wrong thing that would ruin the promotion. I would always, like I say, get sick or sabotage my body in some way so that I couldn't keep going in the job or in the relationship or in the whatever it was. I was never, even in my relationships and like trying to be a good, not emotional person, I would always eventually in the friendship be like, here's what's wrong with you. Like, here's what's wrong with the whole situation. Here's all the things you don't want to hear. And that's that. I was never able to shut myself off. So even though I had my eating disorder and all these things that allowed me to semi have a job and semi get by, I was miserable and neurotic and crazy. So like there was no sense of like maybe this is working and I'm going to make this work one day. Really. It was really just waiting until I got brave enough to take the risk to be who I really was. Yeah? That all that stuff that I was covering up, that I finally was just like, okay, I'm going to have to let myself be this. I'm the crazy woo-woo, like I said, emotional barometer from the family that taught me the very best thing that you can ever do is just don't say anything, don't rock the boat, don't make us look bad. And I was like, making us look bad. Okay, so I kind of had a leg up on that in that I didn't have the approval to lose. That's what I mean by that. I had never really been able to get that approval. I had never been able to sustain being normal long enough to get the approval of the people that I was looking to get that approval from. So like I say, the fear of stepping into who I really was still big and still scary and still thought I was going to turn into this horrible monster. Like really that deep fear of like that I might just be a bad person because who I was trained to be as what a good person is was so different from who I really actually am that I thought that I was a bad person. Like, of course we think that. But other than that, I wasn't going to like lose approval that I had. When people, if you're the type of person who has been able to be successful in a career that you actually don't love and that you break down every couple of months, if you've been able to be successfully the housewife or successfully the person in the relationship or successfully manage a relationship with your parents or successfully be normal to some degree, and you've gotten approval for being that, you've gotten approval for being someone that you're not, this is going to be even harder, right? To face the idea that this really isn't who I am. The reason I keep sabotaging myself, the reason I have this neurosis, the reason I keep putting myself in this same drama over and over and over again is that it is my scapegoat. It's my coping mechanism. For every time this part of me that wants to rebel from this life starts to bubble up, I can make this drama. I can get upset about my body. I can get upset about my weight. I can get upset about my spending. I can get upset about my relationship. I can put myself in a shitty situation. Anytime that boils up, that I'm gonna lose approval by actually saying what I think or what I feel or what I mean or doing something that other people don't approve of, you have this distraction to go to. You have this coping mechanism to obsess about. You have this thing that you can do that causes drama in your life that gets you all busy and wrapped up in this drama so that you don't have to face the idea that you really don't want to keep doing this thing that's getting you so much approval right now. Yes? And that is what we need to start to recognize. There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. You're trying to be someone. You're trying to live in a way that doesn't work. That's what's happening. And so we can even look at this like, this is my kind of view on physical disease. Physical dis-ease is not the body going wrong. When we get a dis-ease, that's the body adapting to unideal circumstances. That is the body's way of not dying when its needs aren't met. When its needs for actual thriving are not being met, the body adapts. It makes an adjustment. It goes in some way to adapt to this impediment to its thriving. So this, of course, causes a downgrade in its function overall, but the body is not causing a downgrade in its own function. It's being impeded in its function, and it's adjusting and adapting to that. And so we all have a genetic predisposition to where our body will make adjustments when the ideal circumstances aren't created. And we pass that down to one another. But again, in order for those conditions, in order for those diseases to come about, the conditions that create the body needing to adapt have to be created. And so, of course, most of us look at our family heritage and say, well, look, my grandparents had heart disease, my dad has heart disease, I have heart disease. But think about it too. We've passed a lifestyle on to each other. We're all living in relatively the same way. So of course, the body is adapting the way your dad's body adapted and the way your grandparents' body adapted, because that's programmed into your DNA. This is how we're going to adapt when the correct circumstances aren't given. Yes? And so you live kind of like your dad, who lived kind of like his dad. Of course, you're going to adapt the same way. You're going to get the same diseases they have. So in my instance, I had precancerous cysts on my ovaries at 14. My grandma died of breast and ovarian cancer. Every cousin on that side of the family has had breast or ovarian cancer. I was just next in line. It was the exact same. Now, I don't have that. I'm the only person, the only female on my dad's side of the family who I take after genetically the most, by my age, who has not had an organ removed and has not had cancer. I'm the only one. Is that because I have lucky genetics? No, of course not. I had precancerous cysts at 14. Why don't I have cancer now? Because I changed my life. I am not having to make the same adaptations because I changed my life. I live differently, so my body doesn't have to adapt. This is how this works. But you know what that change required? I'm an alien to my family. I'm a frickin' freak, okay? I want to tell you a story. My grandparents passed away in 2016, and we went back to my hometown for the first time in 10 years at least, since I'd been back to Red Deer. And an aunt that I have, that I grew up with. So she knew me from the time I was born to the time I was, so yeah, probably the last time she had seen me was 10 years prior. So I was 27 at the time, I think. So yeah, I don't even think she'd seen me since then. I think the last time she saw me was like when I was 12 or 13, and then I was 27. And my family went back, and she looked at us. So my sister and I came over to talk to her, obviously, because we hadn't seen her in a long time. And she said, you know what? If you two were walking down the street, I would know who Samantha was, my sister. She's like, I would totally recognize her. She looks like she still looks like how Sam looked as a child, just as an adult. But she said, if I saw you, Allie, I would have no idea who you were. And I feel like that was like the perfect encapsulation. It's like, yeah, I don't look like my family anymore. I don't act like my family anymore. I don't live like my family. I don't think like my family. So the genetic diseases that all of my family has, I don't have. Everyone in my family is depressed or anxious. I'm not. Is that because I don't have that? Of course not. I used to be depressed and anxious, but I changed my life. So here's the thing. The changing of my life, the thing that made it so that all those things that were wrong with me stopped being a thing in my life, was not by trying to fix or get rid of the thing. It was me admitting that life wasn't going to work like this. And I was going to have to change. And I was going to have to be different. And I was going to have to break the family code. I was going to have to be someone that I had been told my whole life not to be. And it was frickin' scary. It was so scary. And then at the same time, right? Like I said, I didn't see this whole path. I didn't know this was going to work out. There was no guarantee that taking a risk and being different from my family was going to work out any better than being how they were, right? So that is the other thing, is we cope so that we can stay the same, because we're always going to have this sense that to change, to take the risk, to lose the approval of everyone around us, to lose this hope that we're going to one day be normal when we just get rid of this thing about ourselves, or fix this thing about ourselves, or whatever it is that's wrong with us. To lose that hope and to be different, to take the risk to be different. There's always going to be the sense of, yeah, but what if that new thing that I try isn't better? What if it's just different shitty? Okay, so that is the other big thing that we got to recognize. The fear of change is deeper than just, I don't know what this is going to be, or I'm afraid of being someone that I know that I've been told I shouldn't be. The real fear is that I'm going to do all this work and I'm going to change and I'm going to be different and I'm going to lose approval and I'm going to do all this weird different stuff and I'm still going to be depressed. I'm still going to have the eating disorder. I'm still going to hate my body. I'm still going to spend money. I'm still going to be in a shitty relationship. What if I'm just in a different shitty place? So now I'm in a different shitty place. It's uncomfortable. It's unfamiliar. I don't know how to do that. I don't have the approval. And I'm still shitty. That's going to be the fear. Okay? We're all going to have that. That's going to happen. And then I'm going to tell you this. As you go along, starting to make the changes that your inner guidance tells you to make when you start to listen, it's going to be little things, little changes, or sometimes big changes. Like for me, it was like move to Thailand. Sell all your shit and move to Thailand. That was one of the first big steps I took. But I had taken several little steps all before that. And there are going to be things that you try that do suck, that aren't better, that again, bring some trauma into your life of I don't understand why that went so poorly. But again, if you start to make it so that every unknown you interact with that causes you pain, you start to say, why did that cause me pain? What was out of alignment there? What did I think was going to happen? What actually happened? Why did it happen that way and not the way that I thought it was going to happen? What is reality? What are my mindsets? What am I telling myself about myself? What am I making this mean? Some stuff is going to be shittier. It's going to feel worse at first. So I'm not going to tell you. You start to step into your authentic self and you just follow your bliss all the way to your dreams. No, of course not. You're going to start to step into your authentic self. You're going to feel amazing one day. You're going to feel horrible the next day. You're going to try something and it's going to go great. You're going to try something and it's going to go horrible. Things are going to blow up in your face. People are going to be mad at you. People are going to reject you. You're going to get in fights. All of this shit is going to happen. And you're going to have to do it anyways. Because if you really want to become the person you came here to become, you're going to have to do what your soul is calling you to do, which is going to be interacting with the unknown. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to have things not go the way you thought they were going to go. So you're going to have to change the way you interact with the unknown. You're not supposed to know. When you cause a mess, you didn't do it on purpose. It doesn't make you a bad person. Everything can be figured out. If you allow yourself to say, why was that painful? Why did that go badly? Stop expecting your life to be smooth sailing. Stop looking for the happily ever after because it doesn't exist. There's always going to be challenge. There's always going to be trauma in the sense that you're always going to interact with a reality that you don't know and don't understand and doesn't go how you thought it was going to go, so as to inform all those seeds of yourself that are wanting to grow. This is a perpetual process, but it doesn't have to be so painful if we're aware of it and we go with it. Second thing, you're going to have to face the little steps and the unknown of what that little step is going to do for you. You don't actually know if it's going to work out. You don't know if it's going to be better. It's going to be the most horrifying thing you can think of sometimes. And you're going to have to do it anyways. And sometimes it's going to hurt. And if you learn from it, you'll grow. If you're like, see, this is the reason I shouldn't do this. It hurt. It didn't go how I wanted it to. You'll quit and then you'll stay in your shit. There's nothing wrong with you. You're coping with a life that doesn't align with who you are. And the life that you want to live, you've never seen. You have no idea about it. It's totally different from anything you've ever known. And you're going to have to trust your internal guidance and follow this crazy path. That's what this is. So if that scares you, just one step at a time. But this is what it is. This is the truth. So in the next couple of videos, I'm going to tell you my stories. I'm going to tell you the story of my body. I'm going to tell you the story of my journey, because I want to give you some context for this. But until then, just sit with this. There's nothing wrong with you. You just want to be someone that you've been told you can't be your whole life. What if that's the case? All right.